Hey everyone, welcome to a brand new year and a new episode of the Jess Get Hired Podcast. I am your host, Jessica Fiesta George. I hope you guys have had a great year. This is the first episode that I am launching for 2024, but you've stumbled on the podcast that is your gateway to a thriving career. And if you're a business, I am here to help you navigate the ever-evolving world we call hiring. Before the holidays, I got to sit down with Billy Lahr with the Mindful Midlife Crisis Podcast, and we recorded this particular episode. But since then, Billy decided to step away from podcasting and pursue other opportunities, and he aired his last episode of his podcast. So I am very thankful that I got to get him on the show. In this episode, we're going to talk about career growth, mindfulness, traveling, different topics that can help you if you're currently searching for a job. He shared a lot of different reasons why he's pursuing different opportunities, but he left a great legacy. So I do want to say thank you so much, Billy, because you brought a lot of diverse voices to the forefront, including my own. And we're going to talk about my episode on your show, but you created a space that made everyone feel included, valued, heard, and truly inspired. So we're going to reflect on your journey. We're going to talk about a lot of different things, but to kick off the new year, I am excited to share my secret sauce with you guys because this has been helping me the last few weeks just to have sustained energy and focus, and it is called Magic Mind. So if you're tired of coffee jitters, if you drink a lot of coffee, if you get those midday slumps, all you need is this little shot in the morning, crush all of your goals throughout the day. It has kept me very focused and motivated just to get things going, but it's filled with a lot of natural ingredients. It not only helps you with energy and focus, but it helps you with cognition. It can help you with your sleep. There are some great ingredients in here, nootropics, adaptogens, you name it. So if you're ready to crush your goals, this January, you can grab 3 months of Magic Mind and get 1 month for free. So you can use the code HIRED20 and then go to magicmind.com/JanHired. That's magicmind.com/Jan, Jan, hired. Trust me, it's the productivity boost that you've been waiting for. And I swear by this. So I'm going to put the links below in the show notes on my social media. You can follow me. I am promoting this because it's a game changer for me. And we're talking about mindfulness with the mindfulness coach, Billy Lahr. So why not introduce Magic Mind to you guys? This is the productivity boost that you've been waiting for. So I'm excited to dive into this conversation with Billy.
Hi, everyone. This is Greg Brooks with Rocket Station.
You're listening to the Jess Get Hired Podcast.
Hi, Jess Get Hired Podcast fans. This is Rebecca Lee Doran.
Hi, I'm George Murray, author of the book Hired, Cut Your Career Search Time in Half.
You're listening to the Jess Get Hired Podcast. Make sure that you like the podcast and share it with all your friends. I can't wait to hear what you think.
In this episode, I have a special guest, and we were laughing earlier because he's become a good friend of mine. He's a fellow travel enthusiast and a fellow podcaster. And I don't know why I'm a little nervous to introduce him because I've been on his show before, but he is going to share some valuable insights on mindfulness, career growth, and a lot more. So there is a lot that we're going to be talking about. And I don't know, I guess this is the new way that podcast friends catch up these days. We just make an episode out of it, right, Billy?
Yeah. And I mean, realistically, you should be a little nervous because I am a big deal. So, we'll do some mindfulness here and just kind of taking a breath to just be present with what is right now. So it's okay. Lean into that nervousness.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to welcome you in to the Jess Get Hired podcast. Oh, this is going to be a fun episode. But how the heck are you?
I am doing fantastic. It's so great to see you. It's great to catch up here before we even got on air. So I'm already in a good mood and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Well, let's just catch everybody up on your show and what you've been up to.
Yeah, so it's called the Mindful Midlife Crisis. It's a podcast for people navigating the complexities and possibilities of life's second half. And so for the first, I would say 100 episodes, I had mostly guests on there. And then recently I was told, hey, if people are going to reach out to you, you probably should be the expert from time to time. So I've been doing more solo episodes lately and talking about what I call my no BS GPS guide to purpose and passion, because I think this whole idea of follow your passions is complete and utter nonsense. So I have this formula that I use in order to help people find their purpose in life and then turn that purpose into passion. We can talk about that later if you want, but I think we connected through LinkedIn somehow. And I think I was kind of going, so I had quit my job in education in 2021 and I just wanted to travel for a while. I'm not married. I don't have any kids, so I don't have the same responsibilities that other people have. So, and I had saved up. So I'm like, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to travel for a while. So we connected then because I'm like, maybe a recruiter would be good to know just in case I get on the other side of this and I'm not sure which direction I'm going to go. So I had connected with you, and then I actually just started listening to this podcast because I wanted to get tips on like how to make my LinkedIn profile stand out and how to go about the job search in case that was something that I decided that I needed to learn how to do. And so I reached out to you and I was like, hey, like this episode that you did on how to maximize your LinkedIn profile was great. Would you like to come on my show and talk about that? And so that's episode 64, which I think everybody should check out because you just really did a fantastic job. And it was a lot of fun to chat with you on that episode. And it's been fun. We follow each other on the gram. So, you know, we it's fun to see what you're up to and chat away with you there too.
I was telling you, I am very jealous of all of your travels. So we'll probably get into a little bit of that, but you've been all over the world and I am really enjoying all of the pictures that you share from Asia to Mexico. So where are you right now?
Right now, I am in the beautiful town of Sauk Center, Minnesota, where I grew up. I'm actually in my dad's basement. There you go. That's kind of the trade-off if you're a digital nomad, is that from time to time you'll wind up back in your dad's basement. So I cannot wait to get out of here. I'm heading back to Seoul, South Korea. I've spent I think 8 months of the last 15 in Seoul, just because I'm very connected to my experiences there. I have a great community of friends that I've met there. So heading back to Seoul and want to continue the relationships there, but also see if I can find opportunities, professional opportunities and ways to help people navigate the complexities and possibilities of life through mindfulness, because I'm an intentional living coach. I'm a mindfulness coach. Those are things that being an educator, I still have this desire to help people live their best life. And I used to do that through English teaching. So just taking literature and learning from the characters in the literature and learning from the situations in the literature and that sort of thing. But now it's like, hey, how can we actually apply this to your life where you are the character? You're the main character of your life. So let's take a look at what your story arc is and what do you want the resolution of your life to look like? Let's start planning that out. So that's what I've been excited to do here for the last, I'd say, year, is kind of when I had this clearer vision of helping people do that.
Well, let's start off with the term mindfulness. What does mindfulness mean to you, or what does it mean in your own words?
Yeah. So one thing that I've been trying to do is demystify this idea of mindfulness, because I was having a conversation with a woman a couple months back and she said, don't you feel like mindfulness has a PR problem? And I do, because especially on LinkedIn, you see people talk about be more mindful of this, be more mindful of that. And I think it makes people want to throw up when they are constantly told to be more mindful. And the people who say that really have no idea what it means to be mindful or how to provide practical steps. What about being mindful, especially if you're a leader out there and you're communicating to your employees to be mindful. well, what does that mean? So when we define mindfulness, it's the awareness of the present moment and whatever's coming up for you in that present moment and whatever's around you in that present moment. But then also sitting there without judgment. In a sense, you are a witness to your experience. You are being an observer, and you're just there experiencing what is. Now, that sounds easy. So you're telling me to do nothing? No, actually, what I'm suggesting is with mindfulness, what we want to do is we want to be intentional about what it is that we're focusing on. So we take our focus. For me, a lot of times it's just breath, being present with my breath, because then that allows me to simply just tune in to what my experience is somatically. So that's what helped me. And that's helped me manage my anxiety. If people are listening, they're like, this dude practices mindfulness. He seems really intense. He seems pretty high strung. And I am. I'm high intensity. I'm high stress. I'm high anxiety. I'm all of those things. And I tell people that I practice mindfulness so that I can be this level of obnoxious, because if I didn't, I would be an out of control asshole. So that is some of the growth that I had to make from my 20s and my early 30s. And that all kind of manifested into these really anxious and depressive thoughts that also turned into suicidal ideation. And so going to a therapist and being introduced to mindfulness not only changed my life, but most likely saved my life too. Now, it doesn't have to be that extreme. It can be something that just allows you to be more present in the moment so that you can experience joy, or you can experience happiness, or you can sit with sadness, you can sit with anger. But in sitting with that, then you are creating this space where you allow yourself to process what's going on or where those emotions are coming from. And then in turn, you're able to respond. So we want to move away from that impulsivity to react, because where that's coming from is the amygdala, which is the animal brain, right? Animals have an amygdala and they have fight, flight, or fright responses. What separates us from them is we have a prefrontal cortex, which regulates our emotions. And mindfulness, research has shown, actually builds up that gray matter in the prefrontal cortex so that we are able to better regulate our emotions and be aware of, oh, hey, this stimuli right here is actually making me feel a certain way. So now that I'm aware of that, I can respond as opposed to just react. So that's what I like helping people do. And for me, even though like I said, I'm still high strung, I'm high anxiety, I am actually more mindful. What's that?
I said, not you.
I am. And tell you this, I was in a Mindful Coaches Association meeting yesterday, and I was talking about, hey, I'm a little high energy, high strung, da 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 da. And the guy said, well, Billy, it just sounds like you need more mindfulness. And I was like, let's hold up right there. So what you're saying is my high energy and my anxiety is bad. And I don't view it that way. I view my anxiety as a superpower. I think you hear people with ADHD, and I've been told that I may have symptoms of ADHD too. But people who have ADHD, sometimes they refer to that as their superpower. Now, for me, I see my anxiety as a superpower because it makes me persistent. It makes me want to get things done well. So when do I have to manage that? I have to manage that when getting things done turns into perfectionism, because that's something that I struggle with. And so then the anxiety of having too many thoughts. So just kind of slowing those thoughts down so that I can see them kind of like when you think about a snow globe, right? You see the chaos of the snow globe, but if I can focus on one of those flecks coming down, that's kind of like a thought. Or we also use clouds in the sky, as a metaphor for those thoughts. So that's how I use it. And I like to work with people who have that high energy, who are high strung, because I can relate to that.
Well, let's talk about mindfulness and how people can kind of use that in their career, because I think there's a lot that can go hand in hand on this topic. And I feel like, mindfulness can be linked to better communication, I think. Maybe there's a way that they can leverage that in the way that they communicate to their managers, or maybe even if they're interviewing for a job. Is there a way that, or any advice that you would give to someone on how to practice mindfulness in those moments?
Yeah. So I call those in the moment, right? And so then it's kind of like when you think about practice and game. Like, I played sports growing up. So your practice prepared you for the game. So then outside of those moments when you're in an interview or when you're in a meeting, those are the times when your patience, your emotional regulation are going to be tested the most. So what are we doing in order to prepare for those moments? So we want to find ways to incorporate mindfulness practices. Now, yes, we can do that through meditation. I think meditation is a fantastic way to do that. Every morning, I take about 10 to 15 minutes to just sit in meditation. And I like to do a guided meditation. So I listen to a Mark Williams meditation. Mark Williams has this buttery British accent and just so soothing. So I like listening to his guided meditations. Now, some people, they don't want the guided. They'll just sit with what is. So, but I think that that's really important. Now, some people will say 10 to 15 minutes. Clearly, you don't have children. So then what I will tell people is that I bet you have 5 minutes from that time that you get to work. Like, let's say if you commute, you drive. Most people in the United States drive to work. Some people are probably working from home. So you might actually have more time then. But if you do get to work after your commute, you don't need to get out of your car immediately. You could sit in your car, and you might be thinking, well, that's weird. So if it's self-help, all self-help is weird. So why not do something, why not embrace some of these things that may be beneficial to you? So my suggestion then is just sitting in that car with your breath and breathing through the nose and exhaling through the nose. And even if you're listening right now, you might just do that as you're sitting here. And that awareness of breath may bring you back to the awareness of what is present within you, so that you know what you are bringing into the workday. So part of it is pressing pause on the automatic response that we have. It's just slowing down, the momentum. And the problem is, it's kind of like it snowballs. It just builds and builds and builds. So how do we hit pause and just say, you know what, let me just be present with what is in this moment. And if we build those little 3 to 5 minute moments throughout the day, then we actually are practicing that pause button, so that when we sit in that meeting or we sit in that interview, we hear the question, but we don't need to respond right away. We can formulate our thoughts in those moments. And I think too, especially, and this goes out to all the introverts out there, if you're an extrovert, which I am, if you're in a meeting, you just want to jump in and you just want to share your thoughts. But if you're practicing mindfulness, you're aware that, hey, maybe not everybody has this extroverted personality. So I'm going to be more mindful of making sure everybody has an opportunity to speak. And if you're a leader, you think about that too. And you say, all right, I've heard from this person, this person, this person. But I rarely hear from Jess, but she always has these good ideas. So I'm going to be intentional around circling back to Jess and saying, hey, I was just wondering if you had any ideas about that, because there's a good chance that particularly introverts are processors.
Mhm.
So giving them an opportunity to share their ideas. In that meeting that I was in yesterday, like I always want to go first. And I think a big part of that is because like you don't want to sit there in awkward silence.
Right.
So I've learned to embrace that awkward silence, and just kind of okay, who else can go first here? Maybe I'll go like fourth or fifth. And and then just kind of reminding myself that, hey, be present in this conversation. Stop thinking about what it is that you're going to share, because you might hear something from somebody else that shifts your perspective or provides you a new lens on how to see things. So I think those are all really valuable ways to incorporate mindfulness in the moment. But in order to do that, you need to prepare ahead of time.
I love all of this because I have been trying, I guess, in my own way, experiencing some moments of mindfulness myself on purpose, like purposefully taking a step back in the meetings that I'm in, because like you, I like to be the first one to share all my ideas and just like have word vomit. And sometimes like my ideas are a little over the top, and then it might not allow people to share their ideas because it's like, well, Jessica has all of the great ideas. I feel dumb now. I don't want to share mine. And I've gotten that before from some people. So I've been doing better with just not being the first to share and just being quiet for a few moments. And of course, my brain is like processing everything going on because I'm like ready to like speak. But I've been doing better with that. And I think even when you were talking, I'm just like, okay, I am practicing mindfulness right now because I am processing all of this. And, you know, it is a good reminder, though, that we just need to take a step back sometimes and just allow things to happen in that moment, but understanding the process behind some of the comments and the questions and the ideas that people come up with, and just appreciate.
And the other thing that, you know, as I was thinking about meetings, I noticed this, that I used to be a dean of students, and the dean is always the bad guy. All I do is deliver bad news, right? That's all I did for 6 years, was deliver bad news to students and to parents and to teachers. So I just always public enemy number one. And I found myself in a lot of difficult conversations. And that would mean that my body would tense up. Right. And if I felt my body tense up, usually that was sending a message to me, like my brain, at, hey, you're in danger, you're in danger, you're in danger. And I'm not in danger, but if I'm sending those signals, then I'm going to react in that way. And my communication is going to be, you know, in a sense of distress. So there would be moments when I would feel that tension, and then that awareness would kick in as I'm listening to this parent or this student be upset, and I'm taking it personally, being like, hey, you're really tense right now. So let's breathe some, you know, relaxation into your body here so that you don't unwind and explode in emotion, because, you know, really, it's my responsibility to be kind of that pillar of support and to provide, you know, just kind of model, hey, I see that you're tense, but if I can model in my voice in a way where you're like, oh, well, he's not reacting to my loud voice, then maybe they bring that down. And then you can sense that too, just in a meeting, like, God, you know, you just get frustrated with so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. And so then, are you really listening to what they have to say? There might be a good idea in there, or they may say something, and because you're just so wrapped up in whatever mood you're in or that kind of thing, then you just kind of discredit it. But then when you step back for a little bit and you're like, okay, now that I'm no longer in this mood, that actually wasn't the worst idea that I've ever heard. So now let me kind of go back and explore that. So it's just, you never know what you might miss out on. And the reality is, no one on earth, there isn't a Buddhist monk in this world who's 100% mindful. But it's just practicing and becoming a little bit more aware of what is present. And so that allows you to respond. And it's not necessarily accepting that everything, that it's never going to change. It's accepting that this is where we are right now. And then you recognize that. And all right, if I want to make change, what would that look like? And then making a plan from there. So it's not just always being present. That's ridiculous. But it's being aware of where those decisions are coming from. If I'm making this decision about what the future is going to look like, am I making that from an emotional reaction, or am I responding to this in a way that allows us to move forward in a win-win approach?
Well, I want to go back to your travels, because it looks like we're almost up to our time, which, gosh, I can talk to you forever. But I want to talk about all of your travels. You've been to some exciting places. Do you care to share some of your most thrilling spots that you visited? And then how did you keep life in check with your podcast and all of your other commitments?
Yeah. So as far as I'm concerned, Portugal is the most beautiful country I've ever seen. It's incredible. Okay. Lisbon is just a beautiful city. There's so much to offer. It's so colorful, and you've never seen bluer skies in your entire life. And those blue skies are accented by the azulejos, which is the tile that you see all around Portuguese buildings. And there's this purple, yellow, blue, orange. It's just so bright because the sun hits it, and it's the tile. So it's just bounces off there. It's beautiful. So Lisbon, I love. But the reason why I love Seoul so much is because of the community that I made there. And if you're someone out there, especially, if you're someone who has kind of lost connection, Meetup is a great app to use to reconnect with people. And what I found when I got to Seoul, it was April of 2022. They had just opened up the country to tourists. So I was one of the first tourists there. And one of my tricks is listening for English. So I'm like, and then I would just insert myself into the conversation and be like, oh, hey, where are you guys from? There was none of that in Seoul. So I had a really hard time making connections with people. So I used Meetup, and I found this group called Soul Share. And from that, that has literally changed the course of my life. That's why I keep going back. I sold my condo because of the people that I made there. And I think what that really taught me is the importance of connection, and why your community, why your crew is so important to you, why your network is so important to you. And I've been deliberate about making sure that I stay connected to the people in my crew. I am very intentional about staying connected with you and other people. So I love Seoul for that reason, but being the best food in the world, to me, Thai food. It's the best, especially northern Thailand. Get yourself up into Chiang Mai and get some cow soy. Oh, so good.
Interesting.
Green curry chicken, amazing. It's just so good. So good. But then, Hanoi was a blast because it is chaos. There, you just look and there's scooters going every which way, and then you have to cross the street, and it's like playing Frogger. And it was like, I thought it was overwhelming the first day I was there, and then after that it was kind of fun because I was like, okay, now I want to feel the energy of Hanoi, and it's impossible not to. It just has this buzz, it has this frequency, and I absolutely loved it. But then as far as like places that are, beautiful, Kyoto during cherry blossom season, incredible. There's nothing like it.
That's on my list.
Yes. Go there at the end of March to Kyoto and you get to see it. The joke in Kyoto is people often say that Kyoto only has shrines and temples, and they're right, because really that's what it is. It's shrines and temples, but then you get to see what old Japan looks like. You get to see these traditional architecture. And to me, that's what always fascinated me about Japan and Korea was that architecture. I wanted to see that with my own eyes. I wanted to see the temples and the shrines. So I loved those areas, and I'm looking forward to continuing those travels moving forward. Like I said, I'm heading back to Seoul and then going back to Chiang Mai and then to Hanoi again. And I'm not traveling to different spots because when you do travel, I think people romanticize travel. When you travel quite a bit, it's kind of like, wow, where's the stability? So I'm just going to stay in one spot for a while and just be. I'm going to go from doing mode, traveling mode to being mode, and keep my focus on the podcast. And it's a lot of it's just creating a routine, creating a structure. I'm a big routine and structure guy. I worked in a system where bells told me when to stop things and when to start things. So
there you go.
Yeah. So I love structure. I love routine. I love helping people find routine. I love helping people find structure. I love spreadsheets. Order. I like order.
Well, I can't wait to see where your other journeys take you. I think we're creatures of habit because I'm the same way when it comes to traveling. I go to the same spots, and we were just talking before we were recording this, I'm heading back to Vegas again. So
I'm surprised you don't have the key to the city.
Yeah. I think I should probably get a condo there. So maybe that'll be my follow-up. I'll sell the Airbnb here and get a condo, and then that'll be my little getaway. But no, I'm looking forward to some more passport stamps. And I think Portugal and Kyoto are on my top 2 for 2024. So I will reach out to you for some tips.
Please do.
I will share also how to find you on social media. Your Instagram page is always filled with all of the wonderful images of all of the beautiful places you're going. So I know I'm going to make sure people follow you there. Is there anything else you want to share with our audience?
No, if people are interested in visiting any of those places, I love making itineraries and I love giving travel tips. So please reach out to me. You can follow me on Instagram at mindful_midlife_crisis, or you can email me at mindfulmidlifecrisis@gmail.com. The podcast is wherever you get your podcasts. I also do this thing called Meditate and Mingle on Monday evenings at 8 p.m. Central Time. So if people are curious, like, okay, like I do want to learn more about meditation and mindfulness. It's just a virtual group session that we do. So I'd love if people would come and check it out and say hi and let me know that they listened to this episode. I'm always curious, like, what do people, or who's listening to us? I'm always curious who's listening to us as podcasters.
Are we just talking to each other?
Right. Which would be fun in and of itself.
No, this was so much fun, Billy. I appreciate this so much. And just catching up with you, I hope that we can connect again on and off the air. And awesome to have you. It's been like a year, so I'm so glad to have you on as a guest. So thank you so much for being a part of my show.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.